Okay. Morning, everybody. Welcome to the show, the podcast. What is this anyhow, Shannon? Is it a podcast?
It's a feed. It's a live feed.
It's a feed. It's a live feed. What's better than live? Something really cool about it. It's like going to the theater and seeing live theater. At any moment, I could say something absolutely provocative or make a colossal mistake. In that sense, it's like watching race car driving. I mean, why do we watch? You've never really watched. Okay. We watch in part so we could see if a crash happens. I don't know. No crash here.
and is solely responsible for its content. It does not reflect the views of Cumulus Media, WPRO, its management, or its staff. News Talk 630 and 99.7 FM, WPRO presents Intellectual Medicine with Dr. Petteruti. Join Dr. Petteruti as he guides people towards living the 120 lifespan while retaining youth. He'll apply logic, reason, and scientific evidence to address conditions that drain people of their joy and vitality while protecting people from the harmful aspects of conventional medicine. Now, here's Dr. Steve Petteruti.
Good morning, everybody. It is Dr. Petteruti along with Shannon here at Intellectual Medicine. Today, as always, we're going to be diving into the topics relevant to your health, to keeping you alive for 120 years. That's our goal. That's our objective. Maintaining youthfulness in the pursuit of your health, equally important. And in order to want to live to be 120, you got to be enjoying the moment. This notion of extended life, but not extended vitality, we need to erase that. There's a problem out there, right? The lifespan is creeping upward, but not necessarily the health span. So we're going to talk about brain today, Shannon. We're going to talk about how to keep a brain young. I like having a young brain.
You do. You talk about that.
Well, it's critically important, right?
It is.
It's
It
one of
really
my
is.
favorite organs. I do like my brain. It's nice to have one. It's nice to have it working. Now, listen, folks, there is absolutely no reason to expect your brain to decline because you're on the planet longer. Think about that. It's counterintuitive. The longer we're alive, the more knowledge we should be accumulating. At least my listeners, the listeners of this show, first of all, you guys are a cut above. You guys are a cut above. Why? Because you're choosing to listen to things that enrich your intellect. Whether or not you agree with all that we say, you got to think about it. Furthermore, the more we study, the more we learn, every day our brain can grow, develop. The idea that, remember when we were taught, Shan, that the brain we were born with kind of was a little stagnant, like you got to a certain amount of brain cells and then you just passively watch them die off. Well, it's turning out not to be the case. It looks like the brain is regenerative, and there are things we can do to keep it growing and developing. And one of those things we believe is listening to our show every Saturday morning. Now, we don't have scientific proof of that, but we are soliciting volunteers to do a series of brain biopsies just to see if there's a correlation. I don't think we're going to get many people in that study.
I don't think so either.
No.
You never know.
Well, we're going to talk a bit about cholesterol. But before, there's a connection, folks, between your health and your economic vitality and your freedom. All these things link together. So medicine can never be evaluated in the vacuum of the context, the societal context in which it occurs. And I'm going to explain to our listeners, Shannon, why the Raimondo administration is like Juul. You know Juul, that little thing the kids are sucking on, nicotine thing?
God, yeah.
Yeah, so do you want to know why they're alike? Or should I? I'll tell you.
I'd love to know why.
Okay. Here's why they're alike. They're both little, they're both cute, and they're both bad for your health and have long-term toxic consequences, right? So here's Juul. And by the way, Julia Roberts called it disgusting, and I agree with her. Let's set aside our judgmental attitude towards the behavior itself and look at the core of it, folks. Juul is a nicotine delivery device delivered via a battery so it doesn't create a combustion, which makes it really small and really hard to detect. Your kids, our kids, are being exposed to this every day, junior high and high school. Back to school with Juul, the rate of increase in use has gone up 800% in 1 year. These products were introduced in 2007. They rewire. Nicotine is a powerful addictive substance that has the power to rewire a developing brain. Listen closely, folks. There's an adage in warfare that we're constantly strategizing to fight the last war. So now we're going after the opioid epidemic, and appropriately so, but we're targeting the wrong objective. When we know the relapse rate of addiction, in some cases, goes up to 90%. The focus needs to be on prevention. We need to start intervening at 10, 11, and 12 years of age. And we need to eliminate Juul and nicotine addiction, or at least suppress it, because of cross-addictive power. You get addicted to one substance, your brain gets screwed up, you can transfer the addiction to other substances, right? You ever been to an NA meeting? I mean, I've been there observationally. They all smoke. I mean, it's just cross-addiction. Now, Shannon, here are the flavors you can get your Juul in, right? Gummy bear, peanut butter cup, right? Who do you think they're targeting, folks?
Well, they are. I mean, they have commercials. They're marketing children.
Yep. Do you know that one Juul pod is equal to 200 puffs of a cigarette? 200. Today's jeweler is tomorrow's cigarette smoker. Big tobacco knows that. So what can you do? First of all, the schools are pretty much asleep at the wheel here. They don't know what the hell to do. You know, and I can't fully blame them. This is so insidious. Talk to your children, talk to your grandchildren, talk to each other if you're a young person, right? Are you juuling? Do you know somebody who is? What's going on out there? And then follow the money. They're not giving this stuff away. It costs bucks. Now let's draw the connection to Juul, where it seems benign in the moment. Here's a little Juul, not going to kill you. It's not cigarettes. Not so fast, right? It may well be cardiotoxic. It may well be neurodegenerative deteriorating. Now we look at elements of the Raimondo administration. There to help you. I got to tell you, if she does get reelected, Shannon, she has Donald Trump to thank, because she's riding the coattails of the Trump economic trend, as well as all the people that hate him. And national politics we'll get to in a second. But here's what's occurred. $500 million of wasted money in UHIP. Free college tuition that's now expanding. A new entitlement program that's eating up more of the budget every year with no known benefit. The Paw Sox have been chased out of the state. The Thane Tower, that would be economic engine for the state, is being crushed in part due to a lack of leadership from the top. The power plant that will spew toxic brain-killing fumes into our environment is being promoted. The police and fire disability has included hypertension. It's just a little seed today, but it's going to explode in the face of us in about 10 years. All this for the joy of the present administration. And what's the big thing? Re-elect her, because it could be worse. It's like, you know, he does love me. I'm going to go back. Maybe they won't hit me so hard. You guys, look, here's your opportunity to change. And I don't know who I'll endorse. I'm not going to endorse anybody, right? But I will say this. I will endorse ABG. That is anybody but Gina, okay? It's masochistic, people. Masochistic. We have a little bump in our economy thanks to global or national trends. That's it. But we got to talk about lipids. And how do you know the Mueller investigation is failing to find collusion? Because they're now talking about the 25th Amendment, and they're trying to talk about Donald Trump's mental health. When they cannot beat you at the ballot box, they look for an administrative way out. Can you imagine trying to psychologically analyze the fitness of the president? Now, these are they're going to get a committee of psychiatrists. Remember when they used to declare homosexuality a mental disease, Shannon? Not that long ago, right? These are esteemed psychiatrists. Imagine it's 20 years ago, folks, and you're a gay president. They would declare you incompetent based on the 25th Amendment because it was in the DSM, whatever it was back then. Wasn't that long ago, Shan. Well, my point here is that we've got to be very cautious about declaring mental health unsound. This reminds me of the re-education camps in the Mao Zedong era. You know, you're not thinking correctly. There must be something wrong with your brain. You know, Dr. Petteruti, you talk about this intellectual medicine. We just don't think that that's proper thinking. There's got to be something wrong with you. We're going to send you to a psychological evaluation. You go to a psych eval, everybody comes out with a diagnosis. Nobody's normal, right? Especially the psychiatrist who's evaluating you. Anyhow, when we come back, we're going to be talking about how to keep your brain young. And really, does cholesterol matter? And if so, which one? We'll be back, folks. This is Intellectual Medicine. I'm Dr. Petteruti on WPRO.
News Talk 6.
Right? Say again? Oh, do you have it teed up? Yeah, let's go with it.
Executive Suite.
That's Tyler's fun.
Who is running against Raimondo?
We don't. Who's running against her? There's.
Fung?
Well, he's in the primary. The primary is the next thing that's coming up. So you've got Gina Raimondo running against, forgot his name. Listeners, you can type in the name and Shannon can read it. But the fellow, Matt Brown. I think it's Matt Brown. Matt Brown is more socialist-leaning, liberal Democrat. Look, the issue here is not their leanings, it's their not transparency, it's what they stand for and what they've done. Yeah, hell, I voted for Raimondo. I thought she was a pioneering, going to restructure some of the foundation pieces of Rhode Island. Colossal disappointment. Colossal. The bully pulpit, invisible. She's spending more time flying around the country fundraising than banging the gavel and leading in Rhode Island. I'm disappointed. It's just a colossal disappointment. You know, and sometimes the seeds you plant don't manifest until years later, and it affects our health. Look, the money is leaving Rhode Island. People who can are establishing residence in other states. And the people that are doing that are the thought leaders, the engines, the job creators. And that affects health. We talk about health all the time here. Listen, you don't have health insurance. Remember that. What you have is sick insurance. It's there for when you crash and burn. You cannot look to your health insurance for guidance regarding how to stay well. You got to go way beyond that. If you care about that, right? If that's what you value. So I had a patient ask me the other day, Shannon, Dr. Petteruti, how much money do you spend a month on your anti-aging? A very fair question. Because you've got to have a line item in your household budget for your life extension and anti-aging support, or you're not going to get the benefit of it. And this is where it gets more complicated. You can't go to the internet and figure out, gosh, I'm going to take X, Y, and Z supplement because I read about it, it looks good. There's too much marketing influenced advice being dispensed. Now, everybody's got a dog in the race, or pony in the race, right? They got something in the race. You know? Well, we do too, and our dog in the race is your outcome. You know, at Intellectual Medicine, we're not married to any product or substance. We take no sponsors. We get no revenue other than what our patients pay us for the service, counseling, and advice that they get. Yeah, we do sell products, and that's clearly apparent when you come in and what recommendations that we make. But you've got to prioritize how I'm going to approach my anti-aging. What matters the most? It's different for everybody. Listen, if you're a 35-year-old struggling with obesity, it's very different than if you're a 75-year-old struggling with memory. And where you spend your money will depend on where you are chronologically and medically. So here, do I have time? We're going to go here. Here are the top hits, right? Number one, I'm presuming you already don't smoke, don't juul, and you drink in moderation. So take those off of your risk list. 1 minute left. Next in the hierarchy, your weight, percent body fat. A quick rule of thumb. Take a tape measure, wrap it around your waist. If you're a man and it's above 40 inches, a woman it's above 35 inches, run to Intellectual Medicine. Come see Dr. Souza. Come see me. I hate to be so blunt, but there's nothing out there that really works well for the weight issue, if it's significant, okay? Next on this list, in my view, make sure the hormones are repleted. As you'll hear in a moment, there's a connection between testosterone and dementia. And of course, hormone repletion depends on your age. If you're a woman approaching 40, if you're a man past 40 approaching 50, the hormones become very important to analyze and to start. Yeah, here we go. We'll pick this up at the next break.
Intellectual Medicine with Dr. Petteruti. Call in now at 438-WPRO or 1-800-321-WPRO.
Yeah, we are back. That's Rush. I love that song. You hate that song, Shannon.
Your music.
What?
Oh,
my music's great.
No.
I should produce a CD. Oh, good Lord, I just said
Wow.
CD.
CD. At least you didn't say an 8-track, right? A record.
Tyler, stop laughing at me, buddy. Hey, what? We should do that. We should have Dr. Petteruti's greatest hits. We'll bundle it up. Look, Christmas is coming. We're going to have Dr. Petteruti's greatest hits, the musical taste of Dr. Petteruti, and we'll bundle it in with a copy of my book. Yeah. Right? It'll be a music show. I'm liking it, Shan. No. All right, folks. Well, listen, that's just the music debate. If you have suggestions for good lead-in or lead-out music, give Tyler a call. and we will dutifully ignore it. No, we will consider it. We'll consider it, by golly. And by the way, if you do have, it's cake. Cake is always there. I know. We got to find out where they're performing. I don't see Cake. Maybe we'll have them as guest on our show. No, anyhow, if you do have questions, comments, thoughts, this is an open format. This is live radio. This is so cool that it's live radio, right? We're not streamed in from outer space. You are listening as we're sitting here in the studio. You can call Tyler. You can pitch your question to him, and we'll try to weave it into our narrative. But we need to talk. Can we talk about cholesterol and not make it boring, Shannon? Is that possible?
Oh, maybe. I think you can do it.
Let's try. All right. So there's an adage in medicine, and it points toward cholesterol. It goes something like this. When you can't measure what's important, you give importance to what you can measure. And nowhere is that more apropos than in your doctor's office with that crunched time span and the capacity to measure cholesterol. Measuring cholesterol is so 1990s, right? The good cholesterol is HDL, the bad cholesterol is LDL. Simplistic, inaccurate, and misleading. It turns out that the cholesterol story is more complex, and it needs to be measured in more detail. And you know what? You can measure it that way, right? There is testing out there that can analyze your cholesterol in much more clinically relevant manner. And guess who doesn't pay for it? That's right, Blue Cross and all your insurance companies. Why don't they pay for it? Because they don't care, people, about your health. And look in fairness to them, it's your job to care about your health. It's not health insurance. Write that down. It's not health insurance. I do not have health. You have sick insurance. And just like your life insurance policy, you do not want to collect on it. Right? Every year I'm grateful that I paid that premium and I got nothing from my life insurance policy, Shannon. Another year, I didn't collect a penny on it. That's the way you should be thinking about your health insurance. Now, turning it back to cholesterol. Every doctor measures cholesterol, total cholesterol. HDL is the good, LDL is the bad. Here's the problem. The LDL is a crude measurement of the total weight. Think of it as weight of your cholesterol. What matters the most are the number of LDL particles, because it's the little ones that can pierce the lining of the artery, create inflammation. Well, how does that happen? These little tiny particles are like BBs. They pierce into the endothelium, which is the lining of your artery, where your body then tries to neutralize them because they become oxidized. Now, follow the note. LDL pierces the endothelium. It then becomes oxidized. Oxidation, think of it like rust. It's when the molecule loses an electron. So you have this rusting LDL particle inside the artery wall, and your body tries to get rid of it by attacking it with macrophages. These are little Pac-Man things that eat it up. The result of all this pathology is foam formation that inflames the arterial wall. Repeat the process over and over and over, and you end up with arteriosclerosis, hardening of the arteries. Hardening of the arteries is not the result of age alone. There are people in their 90s with rubbery, youthful arteries. You want to be one of them. So the cholesterol that matters more is the small particle LDL. Now, how do you know if you have them or not? Well, you can test for them. At Intellectual Medicine, Dr. Michael Souza in East Bay and in West Bay, we have testing that has a capacity to analyze this, and it's not that expensive. For a few bucks, you'll be able to know how many LDL-P particles or particles you have. So what's the difference? If I said to you, there's 1,000 pounds of people in the studio right now, you would not know if that's 2 500-pounders or 10 100-pounders. It turns out when it comes to cholesterol that the big 500-pound cholesterol, so to speak, are gentle, right? They bounce along the wall of the arteries in soft manners, not causing it harm. So you can have an LDL of 180. Your doctor will look at that and say, my goodness, Mr. Smith, that LDL is too high. But wait, how many particles? Are they the big fat ones that are doing no harm? Or are they the little mean angry ones that are piercing the arterial wall? And if they're the little mean angry ones, piercing the arterial wall is one step in a process. The next step is the HDL trying to heal and move the cholesterol away from the wall. And vitamin C may have an important role here. it is enhancing of collagen. So it heals things. Think rubbery things like your heart, your arteries, your brain, your skin. I advocate that vitamin C on a daily basis can be used as high as 2,000 milligrams twice a day. And when you're sick with a cold, you could jack it up to 8,000. Part of our advocacy at Intellectual Medicine is for a regular regimen of intravenous chelation, including high-dose vitamin C, including calcium EDTA. We deliver this at our centers that has the possibility of smoothing out those lining of the arteries, helping to heal it. Now, what about this oxidative process? What can you do? So here's this nasty little LDL. It's sitting there underneath the endothelium. It's becoming oxidized. Antioxidants. What are those? Those are, think of them as fire extinguishers. They put out the fire from the rust. Our body makes them, but as we get older, we don't make enough. Our diet, the American diet, is pro-oxidative. It is inflammatory. It makes those LDL particles more toxic to us. Therefore, you want to be on some form of antioxidant. Well, which ones? There are a bazillion of them, okay? Get your pen out. I'm going to tell you. Here's my favorite I take every day. It's a dual racemic alpha lipoic acid, 600 milligrams twice a day. Be cautious. All alpha lipoic acids are not the same. At Intellectual Medicine, we diligently research which things we recommend and the source that they come from. You want pharmaceutical grade alpha lipoic acid in Germany and in South Korea. It's a prescription drug. In the US, it's over the counter. I love this. Look, if you're over 50, I like this for everybody. Younger people don't necessarily need this as much because they tend to make a lot of antioxidants. The times when you may need it is when you're under more duress. There's a possibility, folks, that if we're neutralizing these free radicals, even though the LDL is making that initial damage, we're cooling it out. We're preventing it from becoming oxidized. And this oxidative process happens in the arteries. It happens in the brain as well. So now we're talking about alpha lipoic acid because it's both fat and water soluble. That means it can get into both compartments. And it's pretty well absorbed as an oral supplement. So cholesterol, if you are contemplating or you've been advised to go on drugs to lower your cholesterol, unless you've had a heart attack and or you're a diabetic, I recommend a timeout and a further analytical dive. Because cholesterol drugs cause harm in the absence of an absolute need to have them. You know, Shannon, based on current recommendations, 79% of Americans are candidates for cholesterol drugs.
I'm surprised it's not like 99.
Right. And the current recommendations are crude, simplistic, and really have not incorporated this new information that I'm sharing with you regarding how to analyze cholesterol. And part of the reason is because, look, I just spent an entire segment of my radio show discussing the basics of cholesterol. And many of you haven't heard of that before. Some of you have. We can talk more. This topic goes deep and broad. But your poor doctor, God bless him or her, has about 3 minutes to go over this topic with you. They got to get you out of the office with some kind of conclusion. They're saying, hey, your cholesterol, your LDL is 180. Here's a drug. Have a nice day. I'll see you in 3 months. Right? And in 3 months, the number looks better and everybody's happy. We're going to tell you when we come back about other numbers that may not matter. We're going to tell you when we come back about how to keep your brain young. Your brain should never age. Your memory should never dim. And we're going to talk about elements of that. And we're going to talk about something that's killing 5 million people a year, has directly to do with who you see. You have an appointment next week. Is it going to kill you or help you? I'm Dr. Steve Petteruti. This is Intellectual Med. But wait, before that, I got to introduce our next guy. This is from the Revolution Soft Wash News Center, our own Doug Lizette with the headlines. Hey, Doug. So, folks, where did I leave off? We were talking about the hierarchy of anti-aging, right? We started out with lifestyle. Look at genetics represent. Oh, hold on a second. Tyler's talking to me. Hey, Ty.
In your computer where it says studio chat, you can call and I left you all the information.
Sending threatening letters.
Okay, I see it. It's Anne from North Providence has hypoactive thyroid and her eyebrows.
Something about
It's called the Queen Anne sign. Yeah, we'll talk about it when we come back. That's kind of cool. All right, anyhow, the hierarchy, right? 80% of your health and longevity is environmental. That means what you do, how you do it, where you live, what you breathe, what you drink, what you eat, whether or not you are fit, whether or not you are fat or thin. 80%. 20% is genetic. So we're going to focus on the part we have control over, which is the environment. No smoking, check. Moderate alcohol, check. Percent body fat, maybe, maybe not, right? Get that analyzed. Not your weight, people. It's the percent body fat. You go on these ridiculous diets, you lose weight. Who cares if half of it is muscle mass and bone? The next thing on that hierarchy we talked about, your hormones. How do you know if you need them? Number one, check your birth date. If you're 50 and you're a woman, you should be on them. If you're a 60-year man, you should be on them. That's my opinion. It's based upon my research and experience. Every man and woman will either be on hormones or suffer the consequence. And please make sure whoever's delivering your hormones knows what they're doing. If you're a woman, you should be on testosterone first and foremost, ironically, right? And a man as well. And they need to be balanced. It's not just testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. There's more stuff. Okay, so the hormones. Then heavy metal. Heavy metal. If you're 20, 30, whatever your age, if you don't know your heavy metal level in your bones, as you're going to hear about in the next segment, your information is incomplete. 250,000 cardiovascular deaths per year due to chronic lead exposure. We're not talking about Flint, Michigan, where they're acutely toxic. We're talking about the everyday people like us who are just sucking in lead from the air because they're burning it in fossil fuel, who are eating lead in our food because it's in the soil, who are drinking lead in our water because it's contaminated our water supply in microscopic amounts. How much lead is safe? None, zero. Lead is a pure toxin. So get your lead level tested. The younger the better, and start active chelation, moving the lead out. Moving the lead out. You should all be contemplating that and deciding how to build it in. And this is how you decide where to spend your money, what matters the most. If you're walking around with a percent body fat of 50, the first dollar you spend is on the medical weight loss pathway. We have that available at Intellectual Medicine. If you're lean and you're a 45-year-old woman and you're starting to perceive symptoms, fatigue, brain fog, muscle loss, decreased libido, decreased vaginal health, decreased motivation, sometimes mood instability, that is testosterone until proven otherwise, folks. The brain needs testosterone. Without it, the brain suffers. And if you're checking all those boxes and you're heavy, start working on that heavy metal. You can do all this stuff at once, right? It's not exorbitant. It's manageable. And the benefit of this, over time, years strung together, going to lead to, we believe, better quality of life. Because we've seen it. We've seen people thrive. Now, don't forget about facial anti-aging. If we have time, Shannon's going to share with you some of the information about an element of facial anti-aging, which is botulinum toxin. When should you start it? Is it dangerous? Which product is worth using? Some details about that are worth knowing. So that's it. You know everything you need to know about anti-aging. Oh yeah, and don't get hit by a car. It's like part of it. You can't live 120 if you die young due to kind of reckless behavior. Although, I don't know, reckless behavior can be kind of fun, too. So, okay, so I'm going to amend that. If you die doing something cool and reckless, you'll be remembered. What's cool and reckless? Imagine skiing. Imagine you're 82 years old and you're going down a triple black diamond and a great-grandpa dies carving up, I don't know, Parkland or one of those cool resorts, right? You'll be the dude everybody talks about for the next 100 years. Your great-grandfather was 85 and he was, trying to go off a jump and I don't know. 85's too young. You're not agreeing with that, are you, Shan? You're just living a long life and dying peacefully.
No, I mean, you should do stuff. I don't have an analogy. Just not doing it for me.
All right, so take calculated risk for the sake of joy and vitality that don't kill you. Is that better?
Sure.
So the computer was a little bit funky today.
Yeah.
It called it a 30-second commercial. It's really 60 seconds, so now it's a minute.
Okay.
academic achievement. Feed your kids the arts. For 10 simple ways to learn how, visit AmericansForTheArts.org. The Arts. Ask for more. Brought to you by Americans for the Arts, the NAM Foundation, and the Ad Council.
Messed up.
Now, back to Intellectual Medicine with Dr. Petteruti. Call in now at 438
Like it literally didn't play when it was supposed to play.
321 WPRO.
We're back. It's Dr. Petteruti. This is Intellectual Medicine. Beautiful Saturday morning. Here along with Shannon and Tyler behind the glass doing a brilliant job. Spinning plates back there. You guys don't see what happens behind the scenes. It's a good thing. Good thing, because we are just functioning like a well-oiled machine. Well, listen, what do you want to talk about next, Shannon? Should we talk about how to keep a brain young, or 5 million people that die due to this insidious
Oh,
cause?
5 million people.
Yeah,
That
so
sounds better.
okay, I thought you might. We'll get both in. Don't worry, folks. And yes, we're going to get to Ann in North Providence. We're going to talk about low thyroid and eyebrows before we're done, Ann. Thank you for that call. From an article in The Lancet, they studied countries of poor and moderate income, and they analyzed healthcare in those countries, trying to discern what elements were most important. They found 8.6 million preventable deaths per annum, per year. Of those 8.6 million, 3.6 million were due to no access to health care. So 3.6, that means 5 million had access. 5 million people saw a healthcare provider. What they concluded, if I can be so blunt, the healthcare provider kind of sucked and didn't diagnose things correctly, and consequently led to accelerated death rates. Now we're talking about access. In the same breath, we have to discuss quality. Access can lead to false comfort. We don't have enough primary care doctors in America. Primary care doctors have been a neglected species of medicine forever. Look, when I was going through my residency, Shannon, they didn't let family docs walk through the hospital much at all. In fact, I would say that family doctors were discriminated against by the higher levels of subspecialists. Now, how many times do I see a patient who comes to see us and they have symptoms that span a range of etiologies, and instead of tying it all together like Dr. Souza does in Intellectual Medicine, and like we do, and like great primary care doctors have done for decades, now everybody's crunched into such time compression that they go to the neurologist. You know, if you have a headache, go to the neurologist. That didn't work. Go to see the spine specialist. That didn't work. Go see the psychiatrist. That didn't work. And they fail to see the forest for the trees. Well, primary care is demanding, requires extensive training and experience. Now what's happening? You don't have enough primary care doctors, so they start to like crank out lesser trained entities. I'm talking a board certified family doctor. There's not enough of these people around, and they've put them into an environment. You know what family doctors are considered by these hierarchical health entities, these vertically integrated corporations that are evolving? Loss leaders. Your family doctor is a loss leader. A good family doctor, in the eyes of corporate medicine, is one that generates a lot of lab studies, x-rays, and a lot of referrals to the subspecialist for the sake of generating enhanced profit margins. If you want to get scrutinized as a primary care doctor, just try spending more time with your patient. Try focusing on their health and avoiding drug therapy. You will be targeted for elimination, right? Every week, Shannon, how many of these papers do we get? Direct faxes from the pharmacies. Your patient's not on statin drugs. What? Of course they're not. Why would I do that to somebody? Your patient's not taking the right drug. Scrutinizing them. Looking at percentage of mammograms. I've known of doctors that have shuffled 85-year-old women off to get a mammogram because it enhances their numbers and they get paid more for it. God forbid your doctor reflects upon the risk versus benefit of immunizations with you. If they pause and think and talk to you about that, they are targeted because their rates aren't as high. You know, Shannon, your immunization rates are 10% below the mean. What's wrong with you? Freedom of thought and choice is being rapidly evaporated behind your back without your knowledge. So what does it mean to us? We need to contemplate more than just access. Quality matters. And quality cannot be delivered unless you have an adequate modicum of time to contemplate and training. Now, there are PAs, physician's assistants, and nurse practitioners that have acquired excellent skill. In my opinion, the nurse practitioners as a cohort have higher training, more experience, and it's more demanding to get to that status. Having said that, you want them to be seasoned. A nurse practitioner, 2 to 5 years in the field before they should be seeing patients by themselves. A physician's assistant, maybe never, fully independently, maybe 10 years, it's hard to say. But if you never see a doctor in the course of your routine encounters, and here's a problem, there's no such thing as a routine encounter, right? It's like minor surgery. That's something that happens to somebody else. If I go to see the doctor and I've got a chest cold, I want to see the guy that I've been seeing, the gal that I've been seeing, right? How do I know it's a chest cold and not the leading edge of something more insidious? How do I know my back pain is not occult heart disease? These are hard encounters, folks. Primary care, very demanding. And, I have great empathy for all my primary care specialists because I've lived it and I see what's happening out there. And they're being put through the grinder. Intellectual medicine represents the answer to the problem of corporate medicine. And we are expanding our efforts to recruit more doctors into this fold. Right, Shannon?
We are.
What are we doing?
Yeah, we are franchising.
We've franchised.
We have franchise.
And this is a good thing because it expands our philosophy to have more clinicians involved, to give more access to more patients. Those who choose it. Not everybody has the same passion for their own health. You guys have some because you're listening to the show. You do your research, you do your homework, and you want a partner that's going to help you. Well, listen, we didn't quite get to the youthful brain and to the eyebrows, but we will. But I got about a minute here, right? So here's a quick answer to Ann in North Providence. One of the symptoms or signs of low thyroid activity is called a Queen Anne sign, where you start to lose your eyebrows starting from the lateral aspect, the outside. They can begin to shed. If you're shedding your eyebrows, it's your thyroid till proven otherwise. Even if the testing is normal by standard orthodox testing. It's called functional hypothyroidism. It's worthy of an entire show unto itself, and perhaps someday we'll do that. But these are the things to watch for: dry skin, cold intolerance, constipation, brain fog, lateral eyebrow thinning. If you're on thyroid medicine and you're suffering those symptoms, it's likely, it's possible, that the thyroid's not being adequately replaced. Thyroid is complicated. It affects every aspect of our health and our well-being. And I hope that gives you some reflective back. And if not, you can certainly email Shannon or text. How do they get a hold of us on social media, Shannon?
They can go onto our Facebook page, Intellectual Medicine 120.
And if they like us on Facebook and ask a question, do we answer it?
Sometimes.
Well,
it's really not for medical questions.
okay.
You make a consult if you got a question.
All right.
You know.
Listen, when we come back, we're going to tell you about your brain. Do not leave us. This is the most vital information. Without a brain, we're not much of anything worth talking to. I'm Dr. Petteruti. This is Intellectual Medicine. We'll be right back.
Looking for you.
Wait a minute.
So Lisa is on the line. If you want me to dump her and you just answer, I can. She said last week you brought up CBD and never really got into it, and she was curious because it affects her, and she was wondering about purchases involving it.
All right. We're not going to dive into it this week, but I'll mention her and her topic, and we'll roll it forward. It's Lisa from where?
Providence.
Lisa from Providence, questioning CBD. Thanks.
These garage doors replaced. They were tired, aged, and rotted. They were replaced with custom architectural doors designed.
We should probably do a whole show on medical marijuana and CBD.
Can't buy a better door for a better price.
That's a deep topic. It's affecting a lot of people.
Once again, number one. Call by noon for
And it's really hard to get credible medical information about CBD and how it fits into the spectrum of care.
largest accredited garage door authority. 877.
You guys use CBD oil out there, anybody? It's got good medical evidence regarding pain management, sleep enhancement, anti-inflammation. It's an evolving science. The evidence is growing based upon clinical experience. It's a great arena that highlights freedom and its merit when it comes to medicine. Freedom, that is, the doctor and clinician's freedom to do things that are not part of orthodox medical care but have growing evidence of merit, especially in the face of things that are hard to treat otherwise or perhaps even untreatable. Now we're talking about everything from chronic insomnia to fibromyalgia to Lyme disease to cancer. Clear niche of benefit and worthy of further conversation. I like the CBD oils better than the cannabis products because they lack the THC. But if you have cancer, you gotta have a little THC in the mix if you want to fight it. The CBD oil alone can help symptoms. Should we talk about saunas? I think we should. I
You
think
can talk about all you want.
the saunas have been correlated with increased life expectancy, decreased heart disease, decreased stroke, decreased pain, decreased headache. 5 to 20 minutes in a sauna, average temperature 176 to 210, has been correlated with all these benefits up to 3 times per week. Now there are some cultures that make this routine, like a lot of the Nordic nations. People have this routinely. It's
We're
like,
freezing.
well, okay, so they're a little bit chilly up there. I get it, but 5 minutes in a sauna has been shown to correlate favorably with intense exercise with regard to health benefit. I don't know, sitting there for 5 minutes versus being on like a treadmill, it's an easy decision for me to make. So Shannon, I was doing a little math, and it turns out that the amount of money we spend per year on Mandy the dog equates favorably with the amount that it would cost to buy a sauna.
But Mandy's not going anywhere, so we still have her expense.
I'm just saying.
Funky bumps on her head that I'm going to have to get checked
Mandy's
out.
not been looking really healthy.
Mandy is fine.
I'm just thinking it may be it may be humane.
I'm not going to tell her you said that. So join a different gym that has a sauna. There you go. You're at the gym 5 days a week. You can run 5 times.
I can't sit there that
There you
long.
go.
I run out of time.
Then you can. Then what does it matter?
I'm thinking of your health, Shan.
Oh, sure.
Thinking of
And I'll
you.
join a gym that has a sauna.
Hey, just get a sauna.
Okay. So in all these other, like Chicago, and I think they have them in Dallas.
Right.
These like Lifetime Fitnesses, they have these incredible gyms
Right.
with pools and like water slides and saunas and steam rooms.
Yeah.
All right, anyone in Rhode Island, is there remotely anything close?
How to check.
Right?
Oh boy.
Intellectual Medicine with Dr. Petteruti. Call in now at 438-WPRO or 1-800-321-WPRO.
We're back. Dr. Petteruti with Shannon debating saunas off air. Yes, I'm in favor of saunas. Yes, saunas have been correlated with decrease in heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure, headache. They've been correlated with extended lifespan. 5 to 10 minutes in a sauna, 180 to 210 degrees, 10% humidity. It's been shown to be as beneficial as exercising, but without the nuisance of actually having exercise. I am fully on board, Shannon, with getting
I
the
think
sauna.
then you should find a gym and you can go.
Well,
There's so many.
yeah, but no, I want it
Enjoy
at
it.
the house.
No.
I can see me sitting
No.
there reading the newspaper
Oh my God.
in the sauna. I want to read my journal bulletin. I subscribe to the journal. You guys should subscribe to the journal bulletin, and we don't get any kickbacks. We have no sponsors. I look at the journal bulletin almost like a public service. And they're declining revenue. You should subscribe to it even if you never read it, just to make sure they stick around. I don't want to wake up in a world where there's no newspapers or reporters, even if they annoy me most of the time. I like that they're out there. So the thing about saunas, though, and then it connects to the youthful brain, because saunas have been shown to help get rid of heavy metals. One of the only ways your body offloads lead, aluminum, cadmium is via sweating. Now, unfortunately, there's not much volume there compared to the amount that comes out in your urine after you've been chelated. So we still, IV chelation with calcium EDTA is simply the most powerful way to rid your body of heavy metals. Now, why does this matter? Well, it turns out that our brains are, well, important. that this correlation between age and dementia, we need to break that apart and look at why. There's these neurofibrillary tangles that have been identified in Alzheimer's patients' brains. There are these amyloid plaques that have been identified as well. Now, amyloid, these little protein plaques or protein, are a normal part of your brain's anatomy. So the fact that they're there is not pathologic. They are normal to be there. What happens, however, is that metals get into the plaques. Aluminum has been found in the plaques, and these plaques sequester heavy metals. So you got a normal, innocent amyloid molecule in your brain, and now it starts absorbing heavy metals like aluminum. Well, you can't measure this in your brain, folks. Imaging studies don't reveal it, blood tests don't reveal it, but it happens, and that starts to corrode the brain. That's one of the variables. What can you do about this? The drugs have failed. Billions and billions have been spent looking for drugs to treat amyloid plaques and neurofibrillary tangles after they've occurred. None of them have been shown to help. The issue at hand is that whatever your brain gets exposed to now won't have an effect for 20 years, maybe 10, maybe 30. In other words, if you're being exposed to aluminum every day or lead every day, you feel fine. Your doctor, you can get a blood test. I have industrial workers that are exposed to heavy metals. They do a blood test, come back normal. Great. Problem. The lead passes through the blood, the aluminum passes through the blood, gets deposited in bone and in the cells of your body where it slowly corrodes your brain over time. What to do? Well, we've advocated for this. Again, we will continue to promote the importance of testing your heavy metal with provocative intravenous calcium EDTA that pulls the heavy metal out of your cells and filters it through the urine. That's the only way to know what's there. That's been stored over time. Well, you can do CAT scans of your bones and your legs. That can reveal it as well, but that's a little bit expensive and radioactive. This is the best way. And there's a connection between lead and your brain. The more lead in your system, the less your brain functions. There's a direct connection between decreasing memory and increasing lead. There's a connection between the amyloid plaques and dementia and the sequestering of heavy metals. So don't eat heavy metal. Avoid cooking on aluminum. Avoid drinking beverages out of aluminum cans, especially carbonated beverages. Now, you can't avoid it fully. We breathe in lead in the air, it comes through those fossil fuel factories, comes through the cars that we drive. We drink lead in our water. We eat lead in our food because it's in the soil. So we've got to chelate it. Yes, you can buy a home sauna, stick it in your backyard. That'd be cool. In addition, you do your chelation. Now, is there a genetic test for dementia? There is not. There is a gene called the ApoE4. That's APOE, letter 4, number 4, I mean. That correlates with a slight increased risk, but it does not predict it. Now, for my choice has been not to get the genetic test because there's nothing I can do about the result, and I'm already taking action to preserve my brain, including monthly IV chelation, including keeping my percent body fat down. There's a connection between obesity and accelerated shrinkage of the brain. There's a connection between absence of hormones. Low testosterone precedes dementia. Your brain, people, runs on testosterone, men and women. Increased levels of testosterone have been correlated with decreased amounts of plaque in the brain. How do you then preserve a brain? Well, get the lead out, get the aluminum out, avoid introducing it. Underarm deodorant with aluminum, it's a good thing not to have, right? Nobody ever died from avoiding an underarm deodorant with aluminum. Secondly, do regular IV chelation as much as you can fit. Now, at Intellectual Medicine, we'll guide you towards level of priority, right? How much should you do? How quickly should you do it? What fits your time? What fits your budget? The cost of a session of intravenous chelation is under $200. It's inexpensive. In the grand scheme, it's worth it. Preserve your brain. Then, at the right time and place, get your hormones. Please, if you're a woman over 40, a man over 50, this needs to be analyzed by somebody who knows what they're doing, like Dr. Michael Souza over in East Bay, something that we do in our center. There are very few doctors that have the freedom and the knowledge to dive into the hormone correlation with your brain to the extent that we do in intellectual medicine. The next thing, antioxidants. Now, there's a lot of discussion, appropriately so, about chronic traumatic encephalopathy with regard to head trauma, particularly with collision sports like football and hockey. Now, I played football in high school, college, gave my share of head hits and absorbed a few. I'm not advocating a cavalier attitude toward concussive and collision injuries, but I am saying those of us who choose to pursue these activities need to then follow it up with a healthy lifestyle. Proper nutrition helps restore and heal a wounded brain. Antioxidants helps restore and heal a wounded brain. We advocate for the use of intravenous antioxidants. I think that all football players, my opinion, should have an IV infusion of antioxidants the day after they play a football game, just to help neutralize free radicals. I'd give them a big dose of glutathione, Shannon, a nice power pack, and with some oral chasers as well, little alpha lipoic acid. I mean, why not? It makes sense. The trauma induces free
Seems
radical.
to be a little much. How about some blueberries and some glutathione spray? I'm just thinking a little more realistic.
Well, you can
right?
do things correct. So Shannon is advocating, like, not everybody has the capacity to come to our center and get an IV. Okay, so a handful of blueberries, check.
Everyone can have the glutathione spray.
Glutathione spray, check. We have that available. All right, but I'm still going with, if it's me, baby, I'm getting that IV. My brain is worth the IV, but yeah, look, you do what you can do. That's a great point by Shannon. Well, we did have a caller question about CBD oil, and we wanted to touch upon it briefly and anticipate it in future conversations. In a nutshell, CBD oil is an extract from the marijuana plant that does not have the intoxicating THC. Therefore, it's legal and safe to use without intoxicating risk. Its best use seems to be in controlling pain, in helping with sleep, and in inflammation reduction. So it's been seen to have merit in people with fibromyalgia, chronic insomnia. However, when it comes to cancer, now we do a lot of complementary cancer care at Intellectual Medicine, including high-dose vitamin C and intravenous mistletoe. When it comes to cancer, it needs to have a little touch of THC in it. We'll talk more about that in shows to come. Well, folks, I hope you're able to keep up the pace. If not, you can watch us again on a podcast, can't they, Shan? Right, they could do that if they want to.
They can.
All right, we'll be back next week. Until then, I'm Dr. Steve Petteruti along with Shannon and Tyler. This is Intellectual Medicine, wishing you 120 youthful years. Hey, guys, thanks for watching. I hope that you got something out of it. Take-home message, don't take cholesterol drugs unless we tell you to, or you get your LDL particles analyzed, including the number of LDL particles, correlating with something called ApoA and ApoB. Don't want to confuse you, but APO, capital A, APO, capital B. Doc should know about that. If your doctor doesn't, get a new doc. Brain preservation we talked about as well. And in future shows, we've got to dive into the whole CBD thing. Thanks. We'll see you next time.